The world begins to soften now, as the heavy, golden light of the day slowly dissolves into the vast and quiet expanse of the Indian Ocean. We are drifting together, carried by a gentle and unseen current toward an island that time itself has carefully preserved. Madagascar, a land of deep, crimson soil and ancient, lingering whispers. As you settle into the quiet space of this moment, let your breathing mirror the slow and rhythmic rolling of the waves against the western shores. The air here holds the fading warmth of the sun, carrying a subtle, earthy scent of dry clay and distant sea salt, an aroma that invites your shoulders to drop, and your mind to simply let go of the day that has passed. There is no urgency in this place, only the slow, inevitable turning of the earth, and the welcoming embrace of a landscape that feels like a forgotten, beautiful dream. You are arriving at the edge of the known world, where the boundaries between the land and the sky begin to blur into a soft, hazy horizon, and every breath you take draws you deeper into a state of profound and absolute tranquility. We find ourselves standing on a soft, winding path of fine, red dust, a road that leads us through one of the most magnificent and humbling places on our planet, the Avenue of the Baobabs. As the evening approaches, these ancient giants rise from the earth like the pillars of a grand and roofless cathedral, their smooth, massive trunks glowing with a soft, copper light in the fading sun. They stand as silent guardians of the plains, their thick branches reaching upward like roots grasping for the stars above. It is said in the old stories that they were planted upside down by the hands of the universe, and standing here in their shadow, feeling the immense weight of their presence, it is easy to believe in the quiet magic of their creation. You feel a profound sense of peace standing beneath them, a quiet reassurance that comes from being in the presence of life that has endured for thousands of years, unbothered by the fleeting passing of time, anchored deeply into the very core of the earth. Listen closely to the stillness that settles between these ancient trees. It is not an empty silence, but a soft and layered symphony of the Malagasy evening. A warm, gentle breeze sweeps across the savanna, rustling the tall, golden grasses that blanket the ground, making a sound like a long, comforting exhalation. Somewhere in the distance, a single night bird calls out, a melodic and hollow note that echoes softly and then fades seamlessly into the vastness of the darkening sky. The world here moves exactly at the pace of the wind, unhurried and perfectly calm, and as you listen to the subtle harmony of the plains, you can feel the rhythm of your own heart slowing down to match the deep and steady pulse of the island. The air is cooling now, leaving behind a comforting warmth that rises from the baked earth beneath our feet, wrapping around you like a heavy, protective blanket woven from the shadows themselves. If you were to reach out and touch the bark of a baobab, you would feel the quiet history of the island written in its smooth, resilient surface. It holds the coolness of the approaching night, yet beneath that outer layer, you can almost sense the slow and deliberate coursing of life, drawing hidden water from deep within the red earth. These trees have witnessed the passing of countless centuries. They have watched the stars shift across the heavens and the dry seasons turn to rain, and they offer a silent, grounding wisdom to those who take the time to simply stand beside them in the fading light. Lean your weight into the quiet strength of the landscape, and feel the heavy burdens of your mind being absorbed into the ancient soil beneath your feet. You are completely safe here, surrounded by a quiet majesty that asks absolutely nothing of you, other than to simply exist, to simply be present in this space of absolute calm. The sun dips completely below the horizon now, pulling a delicate veil of deep violet and indigo across the western sky. The towering silhouettes of the baobabs grow darker, forming magnificent, stark shapes against the twilight. The vibrant colors of the day are fading away, gracefully replaced by a soothing palette of shadows and soft, silver moonlight. In the distance, the faint murmur of a local village settling down for the night drifts through the cooling air, the muffled sounds of footsteps and distant, soft voices winding down, adding to the profound sense of rural tranquility. It is a time of gentle transition, a peaceful crossing from the waking world into the quiet realm of rest. You can feel the natural heaviness returning to your eyelids, a willing surrender to the approaching night. The red dust on the path settles completely, leaving the air clear and perfectly still, as the first, faint stars begin to pierce the vast canopy of the sky. One by one, the constellations appear, scattering like crushed diamonds across the immense vastness of the southern hemisphere. The Milky Way stretches above the avenue of trees, a glowing river of starlight that guides the imagination into the infinite. Here, at the edge of the world, beneath the watchful, silent presence of the Baobabs, everything feels perfectly aligned. Everything feels perfectly at peace. The ancient breath of Madagascar flows softly through the sparse leaves, through the dry grasses, and through you, washing away the lingering remnants of thought and worry, leaving only a deep and vast emptiness that is ready to be filled with restful sleep. Drift with the night now. Let the slow and steady rotation of the earth cradle you in its eternal motion, as we linger here in the shadow of the giants, entirely at rest, entirely at peace, fading into the dark and beautiful dream of the Red Island. We leave the warm, rustling plains of the ancient Baobabs behind us now, as our gentle journey carries us effortlessly northward, drifting like a slow-moving cloud over the vast, sleeping heart of the island continent. The deep red earth beneath us begins to slowly change, giving way to pale, sweeping plateaus that stretch endlessly under the soft, silver glow of the descending moon. You are floating above a landscape that seems to hold its breath in peaceful anticipation, where the evening air grows noticeably cooler, and the familiar scent of dry savanna grass is gradually replaced by the clean, crisp aroma of ancient minerals and untouched, heavy dew. Feel the gentle pull of this continuous journey, a soothing and rhythmic motion that rocks you deeper and deeper into a state of absolute calm. As we approach a place that seems to belong to another world entirely, a hidden and sacred sanctuary carved by the slow, endlessly patient hands of time itself. The transition is seamless, a blurring of soft shadows that gently guides your mind away from the noise and the light of the waking hours, inviting you to simply surrender to the flow of the night. As the moon rises higher into the vast, star-filled canopy, casting long, graceful shadows across the desolate plateau, the great stone forest of Tsingy de Bemaraha slowly reveals itself, a vast, mesmerizing labyrinth of towering limestone needles, standing silent and incredibly still in the cool night air. Millions of years of gentle, persistent rain have washed over this very place, sculpting the solid bedrock into a breathtaking sea of delicate, silver spires that reach longingly toward the heavens. Looking out over this seemingly infinite expanse of sharpened stone, you feel a profound sense of a quiet humbling of the mind that easily and softly washes away all the trivial worries and endless lists of the modern world. The pale moonlight dances smoothly along the sharp edges, softening the harshness of the stone, turning the rugged landscape into a beautiful, shimmering dreamscape of silver, charcoal, and soft ash. Every breath you take here feels remarkably pure, cleansed by the vast and unmoving presence of these ancient geological guardians that have stood watch since the dawn of the earth. We drift down now, floating effortlessly and weightlessly into the deep, quiet canyons that lie beautifully hidden beneath the towering limestone needles. Down here, the world is safely wrapped in a thick, comforting blanket of absolute shadow and profound silence. The air is noticeably heavier, rich with the intoxicating scent of damp moss and deep, dark soil, a deeply grounding aroma that fills your lungs with the very essence of the quiet earth. Vast, ancient emerald ferns uncoil in the damp darkness, their broad and delicate leaves catching the occasional silver beam of moonlight that miraculously filters through the dense canopy of stone far above our heads. It is a hidden and forgotten garden, a secret oasis where the overwhelming noise and frantic pace of the outside world simply ceases to exist, and the only remaining rhythm is the slow, steady heartbeat of the island itself, pulsing softly and reassuringly beneath your resting body, inviting you to sink deeper and heavier into the comfort of your bed. Listen very closely to the subtle, intricate symphony of the deep canyons. It is a delicate melody of pure tranquility, composed of a single, crystal drop of water falling slowly from a smooth limestone ledge, echoing softly and musically through the ancient, winding corridors. The sound is a gentle chime, incredibly clear and resonant, ringing out beautifully and then fading gracefully into the absolute quiet of the gorge. Unseen nocturnal creatures move with a deliberate, unhurried grace through the pooling shadows, soft paws resting gently on cool stone, a rustle of broad leaves so faint and delicate that it feels more like a quiet whisper in your own mind. This is a sanctuary strictly dedicated to the slow and the peaceful, where every single movement is measured and deliberate, and every breath you take is drawn out into a long, soothing sigh that settles deep within your chest, effortlessly releasing any lingering tension you might still hold in your tired muscles. To stand among these magnificent, silent stones is to finally understand the true, beautiful patience of the natural world. There's absolutely no rush here, no manufactured urgency to become anything other than exactly what it is in this very quiet moment. Century after century, millimeter by millimeter, the gentle rains and softly shifting winds have carved this breathtaking masterpiece, asking for nothing in return, simply allowing the slow and inevitable passage of time to shape its grand and silent destiny. As you breathe in the cool, mineral-rich air of the canyon, let that same ancient patience flow smoothly into your own veins. You do not need to figure everything out tonight. You do not need to rush anxiously toward the morning light. You are fully allowed to simply exist here, resting in the quiet and vast space between the passing hours, deeply anchored by the immense, unmoving strength of the stone forest that completely surrounds and protects your peace. The night deepens further now, and the silver light begins to wonderfully soften, blending the tall limestone spires into the vast, dark velvet of the endless sky. The comforting coolness of the canyon wraps around you like a heavy, soft blanket, a soothing and complete embrace that makes your limbs feel delightfully heavy and wonderfully warm. You are slowly becoming a seamless part of the stillness, your own breathing perfectly matching the slow, rhythmic falling of the unseen water drops, your mind becoming as clear and unbothered as the ancient stones themselves. Let the profound and ancient peace of the Tsingy wash completely over you, a gentle and continuous wave of deep relaxation that carries you further and further away from the distant shores of the waking world. Drift now into the dark, into the absolute quiet, as the great stone forest watches over your rest, keeping you safe, serene, and peacefully asleep. The cool and ancient silence of the stone forest slowly fades into the distance now, as our journey carries us eastward, toward the edge of the great escarpment where the dry air smoothly surrenders to the heavy, sweet moisture of the Indian Ocean. We are drifting seamlessly into a world painted entirely in shades of deep, velvety green, a place where the earth breathes out a constant, rolling fog that blankets the ancient mountains. The very atmosphere here feels beautifully heavy, wrapping around your tired shoulders like a soft, damp shawl woven from the mist itself. You can smell the rich, dark soil, gently layered with a memory of 1,000 quiet rains, and the delicate, intoxicating perfume of wild vanilla and hidden orchids blooming quietly in the deep shadows. The transition is so gradual, so wonderfully smooth, that you hardly notice the dry plateaus giving way to the sprawling, endless canopy of the eastern rainforests, a lush and secret kingdom that safely invites your wandering mind to simply dissolve into its vast, emerald embrace. As we slowly descend beneath the towering arches of the ancient trees, the pale moonlight is gently filtered through millions of broad, damp leaves, creating a beautiful, shifting mosaic of silver and shadow upon the soft forest floor. The massive trunks of the rosewood and ebony trees rise like the grand pillars of a sunken palace, their bark completely covered in a thick, cushioning layer of emerald moss that feels as soft as velvet beneath your fingertips. Thick vines spiral slowly toward the heavens, moving with an imperceptible, patient grace that has taken centuries to unfold. Down here, safely cradled in the very heart of the jungle, the outside world simply ceases to exist, leaving only the profound, overwhelming comfort of nature in its purest, most undisturbed form. Every step we take is completely muffled by the deep layers of fallen leaves, a quiet and respectful tread that perfectly matches the slow, steady rhythm of your own restful breathing. Listen closely to the gentle, layered lullaby of the rainforest night. It is a beautifully complex symphony, composed entirely of soft murmurs and rhythmic, soothing whispers. High above in the unseen canopy, the delicate chirping of tiny tree frogs blends harmoniously with the slow, rhythmic dripping of condensation falling from leaf to fern, until it finally meets the dark earth with a satisfying, quiet sigh. This continuous, watery melody acts as a natural metronome for your heart, slowing your pulse, easing the lingering tension in your muscles, and washing away the relentless noise of the day. The air is incredibly thick and wonderfully soothing to breathe, filling your lungs with the pure, untainted essence of a forest that has been quietly thriving for millions of years. You are completely surrounded by life, yet the overwhelming sensation is one of absolute, unshakable peace. Suddenly, cutting softly through the thick and rolling mist, comes a sound so beautiful, so profoundly haunting, that it seems to stop time itself. It is the song of the Indri, the largest and most mysterious of the island's gentle lemurs. Their call is a long, melodic, flute-like note that echoes gracefully across the misty valleys, rising and falling with the deep, resonant sorrow of an ancient whale song. It does not startle, but rather, it reaches deep into the very center of your chest, vibrating with a frequency that feels deeply familiar and incredibly comforting. The sound travels slowly through the dense fog, lingering in the humid air like a fading dream, a pure expression of the island's soul. As you lie there, perfectly still, listening to this magnificent, melancholic chorus weaving through the dark trees, you feel a profound sense of connection, a beautiful realization that you are resting safely within a vast and perfectly balanced harmony. We drift deeper into the shadows now, where the giant tree ferns unroll their spiraling fronds in the cool, damp darkness. If you were to rest your hand against the smooth, wet surface of a massive leaf, you would feel the slow and steady pulse of the jungle, a gentle vibration that grounds you, anchoring your weary spirit to the ancient earth. The dense foliage completely insulates us from the winds above, creating a pocket of absolute stillness where the air is perfectly calm and perfectly temperate. This is a sanctuary designed for profound rest, a beautiful, hidden cocoon where the shadows protect you, and the gentle humidity acts as a soothing balm for a tired mind. There is absolutely nothing you need to accomplish here. No destinations to reach, no thoughts to untangle. You are simply a quiet observer, a welcome guest in this ancient temple of moss and mist, allowing the heavy tranquility of the forest to seep slowly into your bones. The fog continues to thicken, rolling softly across the forest floor like a slow, gray river of sleep. It smoothly obscures the roots of the great trees, blending the earth and the air into a single, peaceful void. Your own thoughts begin to beautifully mirror this gentle fading, becoming less distinct, less demanding, slowly dissolving into the beautiful white mist of your own deep slumber. The song of the Indri becomes a distant, comforting echo, and the rhythmic dripping of the leaves turns into the steady, rhythmic sound of your own quiet breathing. Let the lush, heavy darkness of the Malagasy rainforest hold you completely. Let its ancient, breathing presence carry you effortlessly over the threshold of consciousness. Drift away now, sinking softly and heavily into the damp, fragrant earth, completely safe, completely at peace, surrounded by the beautiful, enduring quiet of the eastern woods. The heavy, emerald mist of the deep rainforest slowly begins to thin now, giving way to the gentle and rhythmic breathing of the eastern tide. We are drifting seamlessly away from the grand escarpment, floating like a weightless feather over the dark, wonderfully warm waters of the Indian Ocean, toward a slender and delicate ribbon of land known as Isle Sainte Marie. The air here feels beautifully different, carrying the incredibly clean, crisp scent of sea salt and crushed white shells, a soothing breeze that completely washes away any lingering weight from the dense jungle shadows. You can feel the vastness of the ocean stretching out endlessly beneath the soft, silver light of the descending moon, a massive and comforting blanket of deep water that gently rocks against the edges of the world. Let the slow, hypnotic and rolling motion of the ocean swells perfectly guide your breathing, drawing each long breath in with the rising of the tide, and releasing it smoothly and completely with the retreating wave, sinking deeper and deeper into the soft and welcoming comfort of your resting place. As we glide silently over the calm, deeply protected lagoons of a narrow island, the pale moonlight slowly reveals a hidden paradise of pristine, powdery white sand, untouched by the footprints of the day and completely at peace under the watchful eyes of a billion distant stars. The slender and resilient trunks of the ancient coconut palms lean gracefully out over the glass-like water, their long, elegant fronds tracing delicate and beautiful silhouettes against the deep indigo canvas of the night sky. There's a profound, remarkably sleepy stillness that resides here, a quiet and willing surrender to the gentle forces of nature that have slowly shaped these beautiful shores over thousands of passing years. The water resting within the lagoon is incredibly clear, so smooth and utterly unbothered that it perfectly mirrors the glowing constellations above, creating a breathtaking illusion that we are slowly drifting through the very center of the universe, surrounded completely by the soft, shimmering light of the cosmos. Listen very closely to the subtle, wonderfully soothing symphony of the Malagasy shoreline. It is a delicate and continuous midnight lullaby, composed entirely of small, rolling waves gently collapsing against the soft and yielding sand, making a sound like a long, reassuring whisper from the earth itself. A beautifully hand-carved wooden pirogue rests softly at the very edge of the water, bobbing with an almost imperceptible rhythm as the shallow water softly laps against its smooth, weathered hull. This slow, steady knocking of wood and water acts as a natural pendulum, swinging effortlessly back and forth, softly counting away the quiet and peaceful hours of the deepening night. High above the sleeping beach, The cool night breeze sifts slowly through the dry palm leaves, creating a papery rustle that beautifully complements the deep, resonant hum of the open ocean beyond the coral reef. You are completely enveloped in these beautifully layered sounds of water and wind, wrapped in a natural cocoon that safely insulates your mind from all the heavy demands of the waking hours. Beneath the calm, mirror-like surface of these historic and beautifully quiet waters lies a deeply hidden world of forgotten stories and silent, sleeping galleons. Centuries ago, this very cove served as a secret haven for weary sailors and wandering travelers, seeking a quiet refuge from the endless and turbulent seas. But now, the slow passage of time and the gentle patience of the ocean have peacefully reclaimed it all, turning sunken timber into softly blooming coral gardens, and transforming chaotic histories into a profound and enduring peace. The island holds these ancient memories softly, burying them beneath the beautiful white sands and the slow, constantly shifting tides. It is a powerful and comforting reminder that absolutely all things eventually find their profound rest, that even the most turbulent and exhausting journeys ultimately end in a state of quiet, beautiful stillness. Allow your own thoughts, your own daily journeys and endless responsibilities to gently sink to the ocean floor, settling softly into the sand where they no longer need your active attention. Imagine yourself wading slowly into the wonderfully warm, shallow waters of the sleeping lagoon. The water embraces you perfectly, matching the exact and comforting temperature of your own skin, so that it becomes almost impossible to tell where you end and the vast ocean beautifully begins. You are entirely weightless here, floating effortlessly on the surface of the calm and forgiving sea, supported completely by the gentle, buoyant strength of the salt water. Every single muscle in your tired body is allowed to simply release its hold, completely surrendering to the slow, rocking motion of the eternal tide. The lingering tension in your neck and your heavy shoulders simply dissolves into the vast ocean, carried smoothly away by the subtle currents and the gentle pulling of the moon. You are held safely and securely in the quiet arms of the island, a tiny, peaceful speck in a grand and beautiful universe, requiring absolutely nothing more from you than the simple act of breathing in the cool, salty night air. The final, quietest hours of the night begin to stretch beautifully across the dark lagoon, deepening the soft shadows and blurring the edges of the palm-fringed shore. The entire island of Saint Marie is now fast asleep, wrapped in a thick, comforting silence that feels incredibly heavy and profoundly sweet to the weary mind. The brilliant silver reflection of the moon on the water begins to slowly blur, as your own eyelids grow delightfully and unavoidably heavy, surrendering willingly to the dark and peaceful comfort of the night. The rhythmic whispering of the ocean waves becomes a distant, fading memory, a gentle hum that lives only in the quietest corners of your resting mind. Drift away now, carried on the smooth and endless surface of the Malagasy tide, letting the vast, protective ocean watch over your deep and undisturbed slumber, sinking beautifully into the dark, resting peacefully until the soft, golden light of the morning finally touches the edge of the world. Part 5. The mystical silent waters of Ankaratra. The rhythmic, salt-kissed breathing of the Indian Ocean slowly fades into the distance now, as we begin a gentle, weightless ascent toward the misty, high plateaus of the Central Highlands. We are drifting away from the white sands, floating upward through the cooling air, toward the ancient, volcanic heart of the island, the Ankaratra Massif. The air here is noticeably thinner, incredibly crisp, and carries the faint, grounding scent of damp stone and wild, highland heather. It is a place where the Earth's fiery past has long since surrendered to a profound, emerald stillness, a sanctuary of sleeping craters and mirror-like volcanic lakes that reflect the deep, velvet indigo of the night sky. As you settle deeper into your covers, feel the coolness of the mountain air acting as a soft, refreshing balm for your mind, drawing you away from the humid coast and into a realm of absolute, high-altitude tranquility. Every breath you take here is slow, clear, and perfectly steady as we reach the quiet summit of the world, where the only sound is the soft, rhythmic sighing of the wind through the tall, mountain grasses. We find ourselves standing at the very edge of a vast, perfectly circular crater, where a deep, silent lake rests in the cradle of the ancient volcano. The water is incredibly dark, so still and utterly unbothered that it looks like a sheet of polished, black obsidian reflecting the brilliant silver of the moon. There are no waves here, no tides, only a profound and enduring peace that has remained unchanged for thousands of years. The steep, inner walls of the crater are draped in a thick, cushioning carpet of ferns and moss, holding the silence within like a sacred, natural bowl. You can feel the immense, grounding energy of the earth beneath you, a solid and unwavering strength that provides a perfect, secure anchor for your resting spirit. In this high, hidden sanctuary, the frantic world below feels like a distant, fading memory, leaving you completely alone with the stars and the slow, patient pulse of the sleeping mountain, a rhythm that is as steady and reliable as your own heartbeat. Listen very closely to the magnificent, hollow silence of the volcanic highlands. It is a laid, textured quiet, composed of the incredibly faint, musical tinkling of a hidden mountain spring, cascading softly over smooth, basalt rocks. The sound is a delicate, crystal thread that weaves through the night, a gentle and continuous melody that lulls the senses and invites the mind to simply stop its wandering. Somewhere in the high, rocky crevices, a nocturnal bird lets out a single, low, haunting note that echoes gracefully across the still water, only to be swallowed by the vast and protective embrace of the crater walls. The world here moves at the pace of the stars, unhurried, eternal, and perfectly calm. As you listen to the subtle, breathing presence of the mountain, you can feel the heavy, comfortable weight of sleep beginning to settle into your limbs, a natural and welcome surrender to the deep, dark quiet of the high-altitude night. If you were to rest your hand against the dark, weathered volcanic stone, you would feel the quiet, cooling memory of the Earth's inner warmth, a solid and ancient surface that has withstood the passage of eons. These stones have witnessed the slow cooling of the world, the arrival of the first rains, and the gradual softening of the landscape into this beautiful, green sanctuary. They offer a silent, powerful wisdom, a reminder that all fire eventually turns to peace, and all turbulence eventually settles into a state of profound, beautiful stillness. Lean your weary mind against the enduring strength of the mountain, and feel your own inner fires, your stresses and your anxieties, slowly cooling and fading into the dark, solid bedrock of the island. You are completely safe here, cocooned in a high-altitude fortress of silence that asks absolutely nothing of you, other than to simply be still, and to simply breathe with the sleeping earth. The moon reaches its highest point now, casting a brilliant, silver glow over the entire mountain range, illuminating the mist that clings softly to the crater's rim. The clouds drift by so slowly, so weightlessly, that they seem to be part of a long, beautiful dream. In the distance, the faint, flickering lights of a tiny highland hamlet are extinguished one by one, as the mountain people surrender to the deep, restorative cold of the night. It is a time of absolute, holy transition, a crossing into the deepest chambers of rest. The air is perfectly still now. The wind has retreated into the valleys, leaving the crater lake as a perfect, undisturbed mirror for the infinite cosmos above. You can feel the natural heaviness returning to your spirit, a profound and willing sinking into the quiet, dark waters of your own slumber, where the boundaries between the earth and the sky simply cease to exist. One by one, the ancient stars begin to blur in your vision, becoming soft, glowing points of light that dance on the edge of consciousness. The great mass of Ankaratra holds you softly, a massive, stone cradle resting under the vast, protective dome of the southern sky. The cooling breath of the volcano flows through the grasses, through the ferns, and through you, washing away the last remnants of the day, leaving only a vast, peaceful emptiness that is ready to be filled with the deepest, most restful sleep. Drift away now, carried by the slow and steady cooling of the mountain, letting the silent waters of the crater be your guide, into the dark, into the absolute quiet, as the ancient volcano watches over your peace, keeping you grounded, serene, and beautifully, perfectly asleep. The cool, high-altitude silence of the volcanic peaks slowly recedes now, as we begin a gentle and seamless descent, drifting southward over the rolling, softened slopes of the Central Highlands toward the sculpted valley surrounding Ambasitra. Here, the very bones of the earth have been beautifully and patiently reshaped, transforming the rugged mountain landscape into a breathtaking and geometric masterpiece of terraced rice fields that cascade down the hillsides like a long, emerald stairway reaching for the sky. As you continue to settle into your blankets, feel the grounding weight of this carved landscape, the profound sense of stability and enduring labor that emanates from the rich, red earth. We are arriving in a world that moves exactly at the pace of the seasons, a sanctuary of agricultural tranquility, where every breath you take is filled with the honest, earthy scent of damp soil and the promise of new life. There is absolutely no urgency here, only the slow, steady heartbeat of a land that has been nurtured and loved for centuries. We find ourselves gliding silently into the heart of a small, traditional village of the Betsilio people, nestled beautifully among the productive slopes. The air here is wonderfully heavy, carrying the comforting, smoky aroma of wood smoke from the cooking fires, blending seamlessly with the sweet perfume of dry grasses. The red clay dwellings, built directly from the sacred soil of the island, glow with a soft, copper light in the deepening twilight, their thatched roofs reaching upward with a quiet humility. From the hidden courtyards, the faint and melodic tapping of a Zephyr woodcarver's chisel rings out softly, a rhythmic and soothing note that speaks of patience, skill, and the beautiful, slow shaping of memory into wood. But even this sound begins to gracefully fade into the silence of the encroaching night, leaving only the profound, unshakable quiet of a rural community at rest, inviting your mind to simply let go of the day's noise and to sink into the deep, comforting stillness of the Highland home. Listen very closely to the intricate, soothing symphony of the sleeping valley. It is a laid lullaby of pure tranquility, composed of the incredibly faint and musical trickling of water, cascading slowly from one narrow terrace to the next, through the ingenious system of ancient irrigation channels, a sound like a long, reassuring exhalation from the earth itself. Somewhere in the distance, the rhythmic and hollow clanking of a zebu bell echoes softly through the darkness, only to be swallowed by the vast and protective silence of the hills. Unseen nocturnal insects move with a deliberate, unhurried grace through the tall grass, their movements so delicate and quiet that they seem more like a soft whisper in your own resting mind. This is a sanctuary strictly dedicated to the slow and the grounded, where every movement is measured and deliberate, and every breath you take is drawn out into a long, soothing sigh that settles deep within your chest, effortlessly releasing any lingering tension. To stand among these magnificent, silent terraces is to finally understand the true, beautiful patience of the human spirit, aligned perfectly with the eternal rhythms of the earth. Year after year, century after century, millimeter by millimeter, the people of the highlands have carved these breathtaking steps, asking for nothing in return, simply allowing the slow and inevitable cycles of rain and sun to shape their destiny. As you breathe in the cool, fragrant air of the paddies, let that same ancient patience flow smoothly into your own veins. You do not need to figure everything out tonight. You do not need to rush anxiously toward the morning light. You are fully allowed to simply exist here, resting in the quiet and vast space between the passing hours, deeply anchored by the immense, unmoving strength of the cultivated land that completely surrounds and protects your peace. The deep heart of the Red Island holds its ancestors softly, burying them within the very soil they nurtured, a grounding presence that infuses the landscape with a profound sense of continuity and enduring love. In this region, the connection to the past is as tangible as the earth beneath your feet, a sacred bond that provides a comforting reassurance that you are never truly alone, and that all things are part of a grand, beautiful, and endlessly turning cycle of life. Rest your weary mind against this enduring wisdom, and feel your own worries, your own anxieties, slowly cooling and fading into the dark, solid bedrock of the island's history. You are completely safe here, cocooned in a high-altitude fortress of silence that asks absolutely nothing of you, other than to simply be still, and to simply breathe with the sleeping ancestors and the cultivated earth. The final, quietest hours of the highland night begin to stretch beautifully across the sleeping valley, deepening the soft shadows and blurring the geometric lines of the rice terraces. The moon rises slowly over the crafted hills, casting a brilliant, silver glow over the dark waters of the paddies, transforming the landscape into a shimmering dreamscape of light and shadow. The entire region of Embasitro is now fast asleep, wrapped in a thick, comforting silence that feels incredibly heavy and profoundly sweet to the weary mind. Your own thoughts begin to beautifully mirror this gentle fading, becoming less distinct, less demanding, slowly dissolving into the beautiful silver light of your own deep slumber. Let the lush, heavy darkness of the cultivated highlands hold you completely. Let its ancient, breathing presence carry you effortlessly over the threshold of consciousness. Drift away now, sinking softly and heavily into the damp, fragrant earth, completely safe, completely at peace, surrounded by the beautiful, enduring quiet of the eastern woods. The journey gently carries us one last time, drifting beautifully away from the sculpted highland valleys and the silent, sleeping villages, floating slowly toward the warm, northwestern edge of the island, to the fragrant and deeply tranquil shores of Nosy Be. As we descend smoothly toward the sea, the cool mountain air gradually softens, melting into a beautifully warm, heavy tropical breeze that wraps around your weary shoulders like a soft, silken shawl. The night air here is incredibly rich, heavily perfumed with the sweet, intoxicating scent of ylang-ylang flowers and hidden vanilla vines, a natural and deeply soothing aromatherapy that invites your mind to completely let go of any remaining thoughts. You are arriving at the final resting place of our journey, a sanctuary of calm waters and scented breezes, where the vast Indian Ocean waits to cradle you in its endless, rhythmic and peaceful embrace. We find ourselves standing softly on a pristine, crescent-shaped beach, where the powdery white sand feels as soft as crushed velvet beneath your tired feet. The ocean is perfectly calm tonight, behaving more like a dark, smooth lake of liquid glass than a restless sea. And as the gentle, shallow waves roll softly onto the shore, they reveal a faint, magical glow. Tiny, bioluminescent plankton shimmers smoothly in the retreating water, leaving a delicate, starlit trail upon the wet sand. It is a quiet, magnificent display of nature's hidden beauty, a soft and silvery light that beautifully mirrors the vast constellations scattered across the heavens above. Here, at the very edge of the continent, you feel a profound sense of closure, a beautiful realization that there is nowhere else you need to go, and absolutely nothing more you need to do, other than simply be present in this peaceful, softly glowing moment. Listen very closely to the final, eternal lullaby of the Malagasy tide. It is the slowest, most comforting rhythm we have encountered, a deep and resonant exhalation that draws the dark water out, followed by a soft, gentle sigh as the ocean meets the land once again. This continuous, rocking sound acts as a perfect natural metronome for your resting heart, matching the slow, steady rise and fall of your own breathing chest. Some way slightly inland, a heavy palm frond sways gracefully in the night breeze, creating a papery, soft rustle that perfectly complements the deep hum of the ocean. All the complex noises of the waking world have been completely washed away, leaving only this simple, ancient harmony, an endless cycle of water and wind that has been singing this exact same song since the very beginning of time, inviting you to gracefully join its eternal, peaceful slumber. If you were to imagine wading just a few steps into the beautifully warm, dark water, you would feel the ocean gently absorbing all the remaining weight of your physical body. The salt water is so perfectly matched to the warmth of the tropical night that the boundary between the air and the sea simply dissolves, creating a profound sensation of absolute, beautiful weightlessness. Every single muscle that still holds the distant memory of the day's labor is allowed to finally soften, completely surrendering its tension to the vast and forgiving ocean. The gentle pull of the receding tide seems to draw away any lingering worries, carrying them far out into the deep, unseen waters where they are beautifully lost forever. You are held entirely by the peaceful strength of the island, completely safe, fully supported, and beautifully untethered from all the demands of the waking hours. The pale moon is beginning its final, slow descent now, sinking gracefully toward the dark and distant horizon. Its silver light slowly fades from the calm surface of the water, allowing the deep, velvety darkness of the night to completely claim the shoreline. The silhouettes of the coastal trees become noticeably softer, blurring smoothly into the heavy, comfortable shadows that blanket the sand. This is the hour of absolute rest, a sacred and silent time when the entire natural world bows its head in deep and unbroken slumber. The sweet scent of the ylang-ylang seems to grow even heavier in the dark, a deeply hypnotic fragrance that lulls your remaining senses into a state of pure, unresisting relaxation. Your own thoughts have become as smooth and formless as the dark water, drifting effortlessly on the quiet currents of your mind, fading beautifully into the peaceful void of the approaching night. As the last delicate sliver of the moon completely disappears beneath the ocean, the red island of Madagascar finally sleeps, and you are sleeping beautifully right alongside it. The vast, starry sky above feels like a massive, protective dome, ensuring that your rest will remain completely undisturbed until the dawn. The rhythmic breathing of the sea is now nothing more than a faint, distant memory, a soft and steady hum that lives only in the deepest, quietest chambers of your resting heart. Our beautiful journey is now complete. The ancient island has shared its profound, grounding peace with your weary soul, and there is absolutely nothing left to do but drift. Sink deeply into the warm, heavy darkness, Let the gentle currents of sleep carry you entirely away, as we softly leave the shores of the red continent behind, fading, drifting, beautifully and peacefully asleep.